Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down some Alabama football today with Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama. You can also join him on his show, The Way It Is, Fox 97.9, Monday through Friday, 2 to 4 Central Time. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you love college football, this is the place to be, where we talk it up with the top bloggers, broadcasters, and writers in the nation. We've got Rivalry Week coming up on Mark Rogers TV. We will have more on that later. But right now, it's Stephen Smith on the phone. Couldn't get the video to work, so we're going to go the phone line with Stephen. Hold it right up to the mic, and we will hear Stephen loud and clear on some interesting current news involving the Tide. They lose a transfer. They've got two exciting series with two of the Blue Bloods in college football just signed recently. And then also we want to talk some recruiting. So, Stephen, let's fire it up with the announcement that offensive lineman Dallas Warmack is headed all the way off to the West Coast in the Oregon Ducks.
I mean, it's interesting that when you look at it, Mark. I mean, Dallas Warmack, part of the 2015 signing class, was a guy that was very talented, a four-star guy, can play very well on the offensive line. He's got size, 6'2", 314 pounds. It's just unfortunate that when you got guys like Alex Netherwood and Jedrick Wills, of whom the coaching staff is very, very high on, and you're older than those guys, and you want to play right now, and the coaching staff more high on those guys than Dallas Warmack. But he was a part of two national championship teams. Oregon gets a guy that can plug and play right now on that offensive line. And a good thing for Warmack is he goes to an Oregon team that's got Mario Cristobal as the head coach, and also Bobby Williams as the special teams coach. Both guys very familiar with Dallas Warmack, seeing how they were both staff versus Alabama. So tough to see Warmack go, somebody that could have had a pretty decent role in Alabama on the offensive line, but wants to play right now, wants to bump up his draft status, and he goes to a pretty good program in Oregon.
We talk Tide with Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama. Also, The Way It Is, Fox at 97.9. Stephen, we have a comment coming in from Big Poppy JT wondering why Alabama's not taking more consideration into playing Mac Jones. This particular viewer here, Big Poppy, telling us that he considers Mac Jones to be a better thrower than Jalen Hurts and even more accurate than Tua.
Mac Jones is good, and I've had the pleasure of meeting with his family, having dinner with his family a couple of times. Very precious family. Gordon and Holly Jones have raised an individual that smart young man, passionate young man, and a very humble kid. And one thing about Mac Jones, as I go back and I watch the spring game a ton of times here, he reminds you of a lot of A.J. McCarron, with not just the throwing, but the celebration after touchdowns, running down the field, high-fiving guys, really pumping guys up. And when you talk to Damian Harris, Alabama running back, Harris and Mac Jones, very close. Harris tells a lot of people that Jones' time is coming, and his time is coming. He continues to add on weight. He continues to make himself much more immersed in the playbook. But the difference between Jones and where Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa come in is, Jalen and Tua came in wanting to be the guy. They wanted to be the starting quarterback. They wanted to push everybody. They wanted to be, base front, center of attention, center stage type of player. Versus Mac Jones, he came in wanting to learn, wanting to grow, wanting to adjust and grow into his body and kind of develop into being that guy. And it's a different mindset between coming in, I want to be the guy, I want to be the man, I want to be the head honcho, versus I'm going to come in, learn, get my body in shape, train, get affiliated with the playbook, acquainted with the system, that type of deal. I believe Mac Jones, when he becomes the guy, whether at Alabama, whether, it gets to a point where if he goes somewhere else, not saying he goes somewhere else, but if push comes to shove and that should happen, he can definitely be the guy elsewhere. But right now at Alabama, The reason why Alabama's not putting more on Mac Jones is they feel like they've got two guys, in Jalen and Tua, that they could really use, that they really see a lot in to really help the program. Me personally, though, Big Bobby, when I look at Mac Jones, I see a dynamic quarterback in the making. I see a lot of A.J. McCarron in that kid.
Talking Alabama football with Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama. Of course, you're watching Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. And just to prove we're the voice of college football, if you have yet to look over the videos and maybe are coming across us for the first time, just check out the videos. We bring on the very best in the industry to talk up college football each and every day. And two series that have me excited here, Stephen, because when I look at Louisville this year being the marquee non-conference game and Duke next year, that doesn't get me excited for Alabama non-conference scheduling when we talk about the gold standard of college football being challenged before they hit the SEC. But USC in 2020 and Texas signed for 2022, 2023. I'm just hoping that Tom Herman has the horns up to the challenge by that point.
I think he will. I mean, when you look at Tom Herman and this 2018 class, it's incredible. 27 commits, 19 of these guys from the ESPN 300, 2 5-stars. The one thing for Texas right now is to get the quarterback in order. Whether it's Shane Buechele, whether it's Sam Ehlinger, whoever the quarterback is, they got to get that in line. But speaking of 2022 and 2023, which is 4 to 5 years down the road here, Mark, I really think Tom Herman's got a chance right here. I mean, if he can continue to recruit during that time, like he's doing now with this 2018 class, he can have Texas back to where, Mac Brown had this program years back when you talk Colt McCoy, when you talk Vince Young, and you could really see Texas as a team in the Big 12 to compete for a national championship. Right now for Tom Herman, it's getting the quarterback in line, but by 2022, if that recruiting pipeline is still deep, I like what Tom Herman's doing.
I don't want to jump the gun. I'm going to have to think long and hard on Texas's chances in the Big 12. I'm considering all the defensive losses. They played better defense than just about anybody in the conference last year, albeit probably TCU just the smidge better. But they were right there with TCU as the best defensive team in the conference. But they lost Deshaun Elliott. They lost Malik Jefferson. They were a score away from Baker Mayfield, 5 points, in losing at a neutral site, of course, the Red River rivalry, and lost in overtime to Oklahoma State, the second or third best team in the conference. So they were right there. And yes, it's the quarterback position because I think they will resupply the defense and get that set again. But it's a difficult decision. Two very flawed players, but that have big upsides. Shane Buechele, more of the passer, the guy that's going to be cerebral in reading the defense and deliver the ball. Sam Ehlinger, a fiery leader, kid that is going to take on the linebacker in the secondary, put his shoulder down. He wants to run the ball. And you got two very different type players, and that's going to steer which way this offense goes. A little more run heavy, a little more RPO heavy versus a little bit more drop back heavy with Buechele. But it should be interesting to see with Texas football and whether they can make the leap in a conference that I think is much better than it was 2 or 3 years ago, but it's still not. With Oklahoma possibly coming down a peg, it doesn't have the superpowers of the Clemson, Ohio State's, Alabama's in it. It could be a wide open race with the likes of TCU, West Virginia, and Oklahoma State and others joining Oklahoma and Kansas State and all across the board with a number of teams there. So that should be interesting. The other contract that's been signed, of course, Stephen, is USC now. And this is a bit different in that these two just got together in 2016. And we all, as college football fans, wanted that game to be played. It was played, and it wasn't much to see, 52-6. And then we were all clamoring for, we would love to see it 3 months later when Sam Darnold was on the field and USC kind of pulled together as a team. I still don't think they were quite at Alabama's standard right then, a team that lost the national championship game that year. But it certainly would have been a much better game with one of the best quarterbacks in the nation in play, and they just grew leaps and bounds as a football team. But they're going to get back together, the same stadium, just 4 years later.
Just 4 years later, and I go back to something you mentioned there, Mark. Man, you kind of hate that Sam Darnold is in the NFL right now, but because just think, if Alabama would have scheduled USC for the upcoming season, you would have had Sam Darnold versus the winner of Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, and that would have been a fire show. That would have been a fun game to watch. But now you got this for 4 years later, and Clay Helton's growing as a coach, T. Martin growing as a play caller. But now it's, who's the quarterback at that point in time at USC? Who's the quarterback at that point in time at Alabama? It could be Tagovailoa. It could be, Tagovailoa's younger brother, Talua. It could be Paul Tyson, another guy that Alabama signed in this 2019 class. Could be even Mac Jones. I mean, should he stick around? So, who's the quarterback for Alabama in 2020? Who's the quarterback for USC at that time? But one thing for certain is when you get two traditional powerhouses together, it makes for a good matchup. It makes for quality rating. For quality ratings, excuse me. You just hope that in the case of USC, it plays out much more competitive than what it did in 2016, to where the Trojans, the men of Troy, could only put 6 points on the scoreboard.
We're on the line with Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama, talking up the Tide. And in checking out the chat, it's not going to be difficult to decipher here, Stephen, who these particular viewers root for, because Dondre Crawford says it's going to be Bama Clemson for this year. Dondre joins us on a regular basis, does a great job in commenting and watching the videos, and he's a big Clemson fan. Then we've got 19 Savage. He's a Texas guy. You can just look at the avatar there and see that. And he says Bama gets shut out this year at 10-2. They don't make the playoff, according to 19 Savage. He likes Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State, and Texas to make it. He doesn't even have Alabama, I guess, in the SEC championship game if they're going 10-2. I don't know what's going to happen there.
I mean, this is why you like the conversation. Me personally, when I look at Alabama, there's a lot of question marks in the SEC as a whole. I mean, you look at, does LSU have its quarterback? Does Ed Ogeron finally let the coordinators do their job? And then you look at Mississippi State, is Nick Fitzgerald fully healthy? You look at Ole Miss, I mean, Matt Luke, I like what he's doing. Bill Longo, offensive coordinator, with Jordan Tamu and that litany of receivers over there. But at the same time, Ole Miss lost quite a bit on defense, and you're still under, a bowl ban there. Look at Arkansas. What does Chad Morris do coming over from SMU as the new head coach? I mean, Missouri, Drew Lock is good. DeMaria Crockett is good. But they both come to Tuscaloosa with Barry Odom to take on Alabama. I mean, there's some question marks in the SEC that will be answered next year in terms of teams that play Alabama.
So 19 Savage is commenting with the two teams that Alabama is going to lose to, and it was going to be my guess, at least not my prediction, but my prediction of his guess being going to lose to Mississippi State and Auburn, because when I look at that Alabama schedule, it's a bit lighter than it typically is. There's no huge challenge in the non-conference like there was. Not that they didn't win these games, but there's no USC, Wisconsin, Florida State, Louisville, not quite at that level. We're not talking about one of the top 10 teams in the country. We're talking about a top 30 or 35 team in the country. And we're also looking at an Alabama schedule that this has nothing to do with them, but just the rotation that comes up in the SEC Eastern Division. They get Tennessee, of course, as they always do, and they also play Mizzou. So there's no Georgia or a potentially decent game against a Florida or South Carolina for them to contend with. But they do play, Crockett and Locke will put up points, but against that defense, I don't know that Drew Locke's going to have the time to do it. I just think that until I really grind it down in August and really research this thing, my initial gut reaction is Alabama's looking at 0 or 1 loss and headed to the SEC championship game in Atlanta.
I like Mississippi State. I like Auburn. But Mississippi State, it comes back to this right here. How healthy is Nick Fitzgerald? Took a bad injury in the Egg Bowl last year to Ole Miss. How healthy is Fitzgerald? You look at Eris Williams, good running back. Also at wide receiver, who did the Bulldogs have? No more Fred Ross, no more Donald Gray. So who steps up as that big-time force at wide receiver for Nick Fitzgerald to get the ball to? That's a question. Defensively, for the Bulldogs, they always tend to have guys that step up in the defensive side of the football. And then for Auburn, replacing guys on the offensive line. Braden Smith is gone. Defensively, you lose Jeff Holland, along with Carlton Davis and Troy Williams. So who steps up on defense? Kerryon Johnson gone. Cam Pedway gone. Now, yes, you got Aizen Martin. You got Devin Barrett. You got Tretarius Whitlow. You've got backs, but the main question will be for Auburn is finding guys on the offensive line and finding somebody who can replicate the same production that you got from Jeff Holland at outside linebacker for the upcoming season. So I like Mississippi State and Auburn in their chances against Alabama, but at the same time, you know, both of those games are going to be at Bryant-Denny Stadium. And it's very difficult to beat Alabama at Bryant-Denny. It's been done, but it's been difficult at the same time.
It's been done by Ole Miss, and it's been done by Johnny Manziel. Those are the first two that come to mind in recent years, but not too many times. Would like viewers to know that tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, we will have Matt Moscona on from ESPN Baton Rouge and ESPN New Orleans because you got the wheels turning here, Stephen, when we're talking SEC Western Division. So we're talking LSU with Matt tomorrow. And, of course, we'll question him about Joe Burrow coming from Ohio State, the transfer quarterback who's got a ton of potential but has yet to prove anything under fire, coming to LSU to battle for the starting quarterback job. And, of course, one of the all-time greats in SEC football, Billy Cannon, passes away at the age of 80. So we will discuss all things LSU Tigers with Matt Moscona. Got to join us live here. We'll pass on your comments and questions. Mark Rogers TV at 1 o'clock Eastern Time on Monday with Matt. Stephen, while we got you on the line, we would love to get a recruiting update, your thoughts about what is right now ranked, according to 247's composite, as the very best class in college football for 2019.
Mark, this is insane. Alabama has an opportunity to buy, when it's all said and done, this program has a chance to sign the number one offensive line class and the number one defensive line class. When I look at 2019, starting with the offensive line, you got Pierce Quick, who's a five-star out of Hewitt Trustfield High School in Birmingham. You got Amari Kite, who's a four-star offensive tackle, big kid. You've got also Tanner Bowles, four-star offensive tackle. On defense, you're looking at Antonio Alfano from New Jersey, a four-star defensive end. Kevin Harris, four-star defensive end. Rashard Cheney, four-star defensive tackle. DJ Dale, four-star defensive tackle from Clay Chalkville High School in Pinson, Alabama. I mean, I understand Nick Saban likes to sign skill guys too, but with this signing class, with this recruiting class right here, he is showing that games are still won in the trenches. Alabama looking to sign 27 guys for this class, and if this keeps growing for the offensive and defensive line, this will unarguably, for right now, be the best offensive line and defensive line class in the Nick Saban tenure. And just speaking on the offensive line, Damian Harris might not be able to experience this, seeing how this is his final year, but you look at Najee Harris, you look at Josh Jacobs, you look at Brian Robinson, you even look at Jerome Ford, a running back Alabama signed last year. Those guys are going to greatly benefit from having Pierce Quick, from having Amari Kite, from having Tanner Bowles. They're going to benefit from having these offensive linemen. This could literally be the best group since the 2012 group under position coach Jeff Stoutland when you discuss Barrett Jones, DJ Fluker, Chance Warmack, Cyrus Kwanjo. That group right there was massive. This 2019 group that Alabama's bringing in on the offensive line could rival that group.
Talking Alabama football with Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama. Join him there. Also look up the YouTube channel that they have, Touchdown Alabama, and catch the radio show The Way It Is, Fox 97.9, 2 to 4 Central Time, Monday through Friday. Download the Fox radio app to catch it in a digital platform. Of course, my digital audio, you can find at Google Play, Podbean, iTunes, and Stitcher. Just search Mark Rogers TV. Want to let all of you know that Steven's going to join us along with a ton of other contributors over the next few weeks as we focus on position breakdowns for all the major teams across college football. We're going to get to it very quickly. Of course, Steven's going to help us out with Alabama as we march through June, July, and August to get you set for the season and look at all the positions, grade all the positions. Then we're going to also look at every conference's top 5 at every position, top 5 quarterbacks in the SEC, top 5 running backs, offensive linemen, safeties, cornerbacks, the whole deal. And it's going to be rivalry week here at Mark Rogers TV as well very soon. So we're going to bring on chief rivals. So think Oklahoma, Texas, an Oklahoma guy, a Texas representative, and they're going to go at it. We're going to talk rivalries around college football. And I'm trying to scratch my head. Who is Alabama's rival? They're somewhere else in the state there. Can't come up with a name. It's a pretty fair football program, but might have lost to a group of 5 this past season in a bowl game. But yes, Alabama and Auburn. We will need to feature them as well. Of course, one of the very best rivalries in all of sports. All right, Stephen, we appreciate you stopping by, getting us set with these exciting matchups coming up in the future. Texas, USC on the horizon. And, of course, the recruiting that's been insane. And, of course, talking all things Alabama football. Stephen, you have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you soon.
No problem. Oh, Mark, we forgot one. We forgot Alabama Notre Dame.
Alabama Notre Dame.
2028, 2029.
Yeah, I'm going to have all sorts of gray hair by then.
Yeah.
That's way off into the future.
Yeah. That's way down the pipeline there.
Yeah, it's a bit of ways away. So hopefully we'll still be together talking college football.
We'll plan to do that soon. Take care, man.
All right, Steve, you take care as well. That is the incomparable Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama. And I will check out the chat and see what you guys have, but let you know that, we do have Matt Moscona from LSU's ESPN Baton Rouge and ESPN New Orleans to talk LSU football tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern time. So we'll take all your questions and comments then. And I'm just lining up all sorts of people throughout the week. So we're going to be just all over the place over the next several days. Miami fans, we got you covered this Wednesday night. Ohio State, Penn State, and others jumping on board. And, of course, we're going to be all over the SEC as well. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you have friends out there that love college football, I'm here. This is what we do all the time. We talk it up better than anyone else. I don't know who else on the digital platforms here that have one guy to do everything, bring on the best bloggers and contributors across the nation and analyze it like I do. So top 5 at every position, every conference, break down positions in the conferences. I'm going to go with my top 10 nationally at every position across the board. We're going to rank all the schedules, 68 in the Power 5, all the way up to number 1. I'm going to rank all the teams. I've already started my research on about 10 or 11 teams. I'm going to rank all the teams from 130 all the way up to number 1, and I'm going to stop picking them out of a hat. I'm doing research, so it's credible. And, of course, as we get into August, I'll have predictions for you and media day coverage and everything you could possibly want. I also contacted somebody today that posted an article on Fansided rating the top 25 college football dynasties of all time. And I thought he aired a few places here and there. So I wanted to jump all over that and invited him onto the show. Navy Thomas here had a great suggestion and sent me an article talking Nebraska and Oklahoma's once great Big 8 rivalry that's been rekindled with 4 matchups coming up in the next 10 years and whether they should play all the time and what should happen with that. So I'm going to jump on the line tomorrow. This is my endeavor to get it on my calendar and address it tomorrow. I certainly have my opinion about it. So we are providing as much content as possible here at Mark Rogers TV, and we appreciate you jumping on board as well. Always take into consideration your suggestions for what guests you want to see and what content you want us to tackle, as well as your comments that always come through. You guys are the best. You're huge, hardcore college football fans, and that's what we love right here. We want to have fun, but we also take the sport very seriously. But we want to have fun and be respectful, but we also want to be loud and proud. And if you've got your team or your conference, and certainly lay it out there for me. And if you disagree with me, hey, that's what it's all about. That's okay as well. Let's debate it. Let's discuss it right here at Mark Rogers TV. Thank you all so much, and we will see you tomorrow.